Welcome aboard! From this moment on, I'll be your guide to a place that's wild, untamed, and uncharted. The past. Over the next few minutes, we'll journey to the hidden corners of the calendar. All it takes is the press of a button, and nothing will look the same again. Ready? Let's go. To infinity and beyond. Here's our first stop, the year 2000. Look around. Life out here is way stranger than it seems. Your phone? Completely useless in this world. There's no Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. Playing Snake is the peak of mobile entertainment. The internet works in some places, but almost no one uses it. Step out of this time machine and you're instantly disconnected. No online shopping, no Uber, no Google Maps, no AI. Life is analog. Everyone here interacts daily with a very limited number of people. Nobody knows what Spotify or YouTube are. People still listen to music on CDs, those round laser red things with about 15 tracks, and you have to play one album at a time. If you pay close attention, everything here feels slower, more naive. At the dawn of the millennium, people are optimistic about the future, but they have no idea what's coming. At home, life revolves around the TV, and not those sleek 50-inch 4K internet-connected ones you hang on the wall. Forget talking to your remote or pausing your show mid-scene. These are bulky 22-inch tube TVs. People watch whatever the network decides to air at the time they decide to air it. Crazy, right? We've only traveled 25 years into the past, but the world feels completely different. Step out here and you'd be lost, with no idea what to do. Even in big cities like Los Angeles or New York, people still rent movies from video stores. Payphones are everywhere. Nobody's heard of Bitcoin, Kindle, or podcasts. Outside major cities, life isn't any simpler. Where you came from, in 2025, 1 in 10 people lives below the poverty line. In the year 2000, it's 3 in 10, and 20% of humanity still has no access to electricity or clean water. These people out there have no clue, but nearly every aspect of their lives will be transformed over the next 2 decades. Everything will get faster, more connected, and more efficient. Studying, applying for a job, starting a business, reading the news, listening to music, planning a trip, buying a couch, ordering food, or finding the love of your life, it's all gonna become easier. And all of this will happen in just 25 years. Practically nothing. But 2000 is still too close. We've got a long way back to go. All I have to do is press this button and voila. We've arrived. This is 1950. We've only gone 5 decades back from our last stop, but if you open your eyes, you'll notice this world barely resembles the one you came from. You know that glamorous life from Marilyn Monroe movies? Forget it. That's the exception. This planet is shockingly poor. For every 3 people out there, 2 live in extreme poverty. 4 out of 10 humans can't even read or write. In countries like Yemen and Saudi Arabia, slavery is still legal. Homosexuality is a crime, even in a developed country like England. Almost 1 in 3 children in the world works for a living. In much of the United States, white and black people aren't even allowed to marry. This is a completely different planet. Out there, for every 10 children born, 2 will die before their 5th birthday. Wars between major nations are common. The deadliest conflict in history just ended. Democracy is rare. There are only 25 democracies in the world. The rest are controlled by authoritarian leaders of every kind. Freedom of speech? There's a lot less of it than in 2025. We've reached the middle of the 20th century, but step out here and it's like walking into a museum. There aren't even satellites in space yet. The vast majority of the world's population doesn't have access to a phone. Tough, isn't it? But we can go even further back. Tighten that seatbelt. Let's go. We've gone much further now. The year 1900, more than a century separates TikTok from these people. This planet is far less populated. There are almost 5 times fewer people than in 2025, and only 15% of them live in cities. A baby born here is expected to live just 32 years. Why? Because 1/3 of all children don't survive past their 5th birthday. Being born, living, working, it's all much harder on this planet. Almost everyone is desperately poor. Even in a developed country like France, people work 66 hours a week. Work is also a harsh reality for half the children in Italy. And believe it or not, things can get even worse. That's why we're heading to our next and final stop on this journey. Here we go. It's 1820. 2 centuries separate the launch of the PlayStation 5 from the lives of these people. Sounds like a lot, but it's just the blink of an eye. Our species has been around for 300,000 years. This is just 2 centuries. 2 centuries make up a mere 0.06% of the time we've been on this planet. If the history of Homo sapiens were condensed into an hour, the 200 years separating us from these people would last just 2 seconds. So what's out there? A world that's completely unrecognizable. The Earth is home to 1 billion people. 9 out of 10 of them live in extreme poverty. A mere 200 years into the past, and survival looks like a waking nightmare. Out here, there's no electricity. Humanity has no concept of hot showers, air conditioning, or refrigerators. There's no indoor plumbing, no running water, no sanitation. 9 out of 10 people are illiterate. The ability to read is a miracle. If you were born here, your life would be shorter, more miserable, and full of pain. From toothaches, lice, diarrhea, and hunger, to nervous tics and a fear of ghosts. There's a good chance you'd never see a play or hear the sound of a piano. Life expectancy in this world? Just 47 years. That means most people here won't live long enough to see old age. That's a luxury reserved for the future. Disease outbreaks are common. So is dying at any moment from tuberculosis, malaria, polio, influenza, diphtheria, and other illnesses you've probably never even heard of. The world out there is incredibly dangerous. Hardly anyone knows what human rights are. Even in the United States, slavery won't end for another 45 years. Most of humanity lives in the countryside. Only 7% of people live in cities. A huge part of daily life is spent searching for food, finding drinkable water, chopping wood, and cooking. And out there, everything feels further away than it does in 2025. Humanity is isolated. There are no cars or airplanes. Life revolves around horses. Walking just 3 miles feels like a grueling journey. Visiting another city or country is an impossible dream for the vast majority of people. No one here knows that the planet is blue or that the Milky Way is just one of many galaxies. Even the rich are poor by our standards. Take this guy, for example. His name is Nathan Rothschild. He's literally the richest man in the world. Nathan will die in the next 16 years from a boil on his back, even with the best doctors money can buy. The Rothschilds might own everything 1820 has to offer, but no fortune on earth can buy an antibiotic, something you can pick up at any pharmacy in 2025. No antibiotics, no microwaves, no refrigerators, no TVs. Even a relatively poor person in 2025 lives a far more comfortable life than the richest man alive just 200 years ago. Boils are pretty common here. Germ theory hasn't been discovered yet, so people have no idea how important hygiene is. There are no bathrooms in their homes, which means people urinate and defecate in open latrines, in direct contact with waste, without toilet paper or underwear. But here's the good news. The solution to these problems is being born right now, in this very generation. It's called the Industrial Revolution. The main product of this era? Cheap, washable cotton. For the first time, ordinary men and women will have the luxury of owning underwear. The Industrial Revolution will change the world. From this point backward, life doesn't change much. There's far more in common between a farmer in 1820 and a priest born 500 or 1,000 years earlier than between an adult in 2025 and a teenager in 1950. For ordinary people, life before this moment remains miserably static, dirty, ignorant, and short, entirely predictable. Life from this point forward will be a miracle. Just 2 centuries and nothing will look the same. Want to see for yourself? Let's go. This is a human being just like you. We're back in 2025. It's true there are problems where he lives, but this person has far more calories, human rights, watts, square footage, gigabytes, megahertz, dollar bills, and access to information than any human being who has ever lived in the last 99% of history. His day is flooded with products and services delivered from every corner of the world for every taste imaginable. In 2025, there are more than 10 billion products available for purchase in cities like London, Tokyo, and New York, from sneakers to toilet paper to underwear to cars, computers, cell phones. This man will live better, for longer, more educated, more comfortable, and with more free time than any other human being 200 years ago. His life, and yours, is an exception, one envied by the tens of billions of people who have passed through Earth in miserable lives. His life, and yours, is a miracle, even when everything feels chaotic and hopeless. We've arrived. This is the end of our journey. Welcome back to the future. The present is glorious.